So hello, Mateja. How are you?
Hi, Macarena. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Very fine, Mateja. And I'm so happy to have you here in this session of CPTED Talks. I will, Mateja, to start the interview, I will start reading your biography because you have a very extensive biography. And then I will start with the question if it's okay.
Of course. Take it away, Macarena.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mateja Mihinjac is a criminologist and researcher from Slovenia, currently completing doctoral research at Griffith University, Australia. Her thesis looks into the implementation of crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED. Mateja has studied criminal justice issues in Europe and Australia since 2009. She worked at the Constitutional Court in Slovenia and has held positions as tutor and research assistant at Griffith University, and criminology CPTED professional in her private consultancy practice. In these positions, she has conducted research in CPTED, crime prevention, fear of crime, and other topics, and conducted extensive analysis using GIS and other tools. Mateja is also certified in Safe Growth program and has co-taught Safe Growth workshops in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and across the United States. Mateja was elected director on the International CPTED Association Board of Directors in 2017. In the same year, she was in 2019, she was appointed Executive Director and ICA Certification Program ECCP Coordinator. So welcome, Mateja.
Thank you, Macarena.
You have an extensive and brilliant biography, and we are very happy to have you here in this talk. The first question is the basic question. How did you start in CPTED, Mateja?
Well, my interest in CPTED, or maybe I should say the first taste of CPTED, started when I was doing my undergraduate degree back in Slovenia. I'm originally from Slovenia. And I learned the basics, but it was under that situational crime prevention umbrella. So I kind of understood CPTED as, that was it. Basically, those four concepts, main concepts, situational crime prevention, shopping list of tactics to address certain physical issues or issues in the physical environment, rather. But then I went to Australia when I was 25, 26, decided to go and do my master's degree there and study criminology. And then I actually realized that there's more to CPTED than what I had learned before. And I came across second generation CPTED, and this was actually something that I thought was really missing in my CPTED knowledge. And and then basically that drove me to actually wanted to do CPTED, second generation CPTED for my thesis for the PhD. I was advised against because it's my supervisors were supportive, but they also said that it's quite complex, difficult to measure, especially within a short time frame and so on. So then I decided to focus on implementation of CPTED, which is also under-researched area. So so this is basically the path I am on now, and I gained some practical experience since then as well, which has been great. And CPTED is currently quite a big part of my life.
Yeah, I know, and I am very happy about it and very proud of your work, Mateja. I have one question that probably is very simple, but it's good to explain to the audience. Do you think with this long career or much experience applying CPTED in research related CPTED topics, CPTED can really help communities to heal, for example, or to evolve if they are facing crime problems, violence problems?
Mm-hmm. Well, I do want to mention that there's still so much to learn, and we learn through practice primarily. This is what I was actually missing when I was just reading and studying, and it was only when I actually started doing real life projects in CPTED and then Safe Growth, and when I was in my PhD that I learned so much, because I really think that CPTED is the experiential and practical field. And yeah, and through that, actually, I also learned that, yes, it can be a very useful tool, but it's not a tool that can really often stand on its own, right? We kind of want to, because we're the leading organization in CPTED, we obviously promote CPTED as, as the main field or as the main approach to safety and crime prevention. But obviously, I mean, we need to be pragmatic when we address issues, right? CPTED can really do a lot, especially when we look at CPTED beyond the first generation, when we look at, more social aspects and we incorporate second generation CPTED and also some aspects maybe of third generation that we have recently introduced, livability, that address some livability issues. So yes, I think it has a great potential in the right hands. It's only a tool, but so it needs to be applied properly. I think we need to pay a lot of attention to implementation variables or kind of implementation aspects and elements so that we actually apply it properly, that we identify the right actors, that we actually engage those actors, because I think if we really want to make communities safer and our neighborhood safer, then it also needs to be very participatory and bottom up rather than top down.
Yeah, completely agree with you, Mateja, and thank you for the more detailed explanation. And maybe this is a very good context to explain also, you can explain also the connection between CPTED first, second generation with safe growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, safe growth is a safety planning method, is resident-based bottom-up approach developed by Greg Saville, who is also a co-founder of the ICA back in 1996. So the approach is really looking at a more integrated aspect of livability. So it's not just about safety. Safety is a large part, but something that we often forget is that, if people don't feel safe, they're not going to go out and promote, go and do shopping. They're not going to walk down their streets. They're not going to engage and socialize with other residents and other individuals within their neighborhood. So I think safety really goes hand in hand, and this is what we're trying to really promote in Safe Growth. So we work with the communities. It's a capacity building approach. So we really train and give skills to our groups, mixed groups of residents, community representatives, people from the city as well, and neighborhood, local neighborhood individuals such as business owners and so on, whoever has a stake in that particular neighborhood. So we work and we teach them, we work with them, we train them, we teach them skills in CPTED, first and second generation, and we really give a lot of emphasis on the second generation because we feel it's so important to look at those motivational factors and social factors within the community, because some viewers might maybe not know the second generation has 4 concepts: social cohesion, connectivity, culture, and capacity. So those are something that we really focus on in order to promote together with first generation CPTED in order to provide tools to the resident teams. And obviously,
you are right.
Sorry.
Yeah, you are very right with the holistic approach, and I am happy that you mentioned Greg Saville, because I want to ask you a following question that is also connected with Greg, because last year you both published a very interesting article. In this article, you described CPTED third generation. That is something very new, and not so new, but it's new in the CPTED world. Is starting to spread the CPTED third generation issues and topics. So please, can I explain a little what is this about?
Okay, just briefly, it's kind of stuff that I touched upon also when I spoke about Safe Growth. But yeah, we want to build on first and second generation, but also revisit some of the original ideas that Jeffrey, for example, has also introduced. C. Ray Jeffrey, when he talked about internal motivation and internal factors as well. plus social environment as well. Actually, he was quite an integrationist, so he looked at the environment quite holistically: internal, external, social, physical. So we wanted to basically say that in order to have livable neighborhoods, safety can't be, considered in isolation. And also, in order to provide livable neighborhoods, neighborhoods need to offer more than just basic, the needs that are on the lower level of Maslow hierarchy. So we kind of employ Maslow hierarchy of needs. So shelter, food, water at the lowest level, and then self-actualization and self-transcendence at the highest level. So we want to say that the neighborhood, in order to be livable, needs to provide opportunities, not just at that lower level, but also the highest, so that people feel part of the community and so that they feel part of something higher than just themselves. So it's not just about their own needs, but also about assisting the needs of others within the neighborhood, because we depend on one another. And I think that showed more now during the COVID times more than ever, how also we seek and crave being part of something and socializing and having that connection. So I think this is something that we want to promote with this third generation CPTED. So, if first generation talks about opportunity reduction, second generation talks about motivation reinforcement, or motivation of those who are potential offenders and those who protect their area. So to address their motivation to protect as well, to not offend. Then the third generation really talks about livability. So how do we move beyond just talking about crime? How do we actually prevent it through things like positive pro-social opportunities within the environment? So this is the essence.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I think this third generation and how CPTED is evolving is a fascinating topic, because it evolves in the same way as the society. Society is evolving and the methodology also, so it's great.
Exactly, and I think the third generation, really reflects that, because it also, kind of talks about, we didn't really talk much about smart and smarter city movement, but it's definitely part of that discourse, because it's about employing green technologies, about making walkable cities, focusing on micromobility, and those are kind of the themes of third gen as well, but also of smart growth and similar urban design topics. And I think exactly, if we want to stay current and if we want to address the issues that are also changing from day to day, and again, this year's COVID situation, the pandemic showed us that we actually, things can almost change from one day to the next. So if we want to stay current, we need to promote research, practice, we need to learn from one another, and this is what we're obviously trying to do through the ICA as well.
Yeah, see, completely agree. And I want to shift you now to the ICA arena, the ICA scenario. You are now the executive director in a global scale of the International CPTED Association. I am very happy and honored to work with you daily or much each week in a global scale and also in a local scale. And I want to ask you, can you describe a little the work or the task of an executive director of the International CPTED Association?
Yeah, well, where do I start? Macarena, it's been a pleasure to work with you every day and communicating and think about, right? Sometimes I feel like I feel like you never sleep, because whenever I contact you, you're available. But yeah, it's definitely having ideas, how can we promote the organization, and obviously with the whole board, right? It's not just the two of us. We need to know that there's 18 other board members. So, my role as executive director, and I only took a role, what's been now, a year ago actually now, time flies. So I took the role of our long-term executive director, Barry Davidson, who was on the position for, I think, 23 years since the beginning. So, so basically, we're taking this further, but also expanding the organization. So my role is really to support you as the president and the whole board in achieving our goal of, so our vision, for example, that we have set for ourselves is that we, by 2025, we will become, or we will be, hopefully we are on a good path together, but we want to be the main leading organization, and also kind of the how can I say, the address for people where they come for information, you know, to learn about CPTED, to professionalize in CPTED, so certification accreditation programs, to basically come to us. We really want to be the leading organization, because we are the only global ICA CPTED organization, right? So, so we also set ourselves 3 pillars, and I think Tim Pasco already spoke about those, because he's the leader of the strategic committee. So umbrella initiative, and we have online learning center and certification accreditation. So umbrella initiative is definitely the large part of what we're doing now, because we want to expand our reach, because we want to promote our message, right? So and the umbrella structure, umbrella initiative really envisions 3 levels. One is global, the ICA, so that's the global international organization called the ICA, International CPTED Association. Then second level are currently 9 regions across the world, and then third level is local chapters. So it's because we believe that that crime prevention and initiatives are applied at the local level, right? I mean, it's easy for us to say these are the concepts, this is the theory, now go and apply it. But understanding what actually happens within the local context, like we often talk about what happens in Latin America, the narco issues, right? And every region, every country, even neighborhoods have individual problems or their own problems, right, that we need to address. And it's those people who actually live there, they are the, we call them local experts, or, you know, they have native intelligence about those issues. So we should be relying on them to work with the people on the ground. But we want to promote what they have found or what they have learned. So we kind of want to hear about it and want to assist them, support them, but also promote the message, right? Because how do we, you know, especially because we've had some internal discussions within the ICA also about the dark side of CPTED, and I think we often also need to focus on the bright side, like what are success stories. We often obviously can't just say there's no issues, because there are with every single approach, especially when they're, you know, considered in isolation. That's why I say it needs to be one part of the solution, not the whole solution. Definitely understanding what happens elsewhere and discussing things. I think that's when we really become a global organization, because we recognize local and regional issues.
Completely, Mateja. And you mentioned so many relevant matters and so relevant topics regarding the ICA strategic plan that we are working as board members. And one aspect or one key pillar of our ICA Global Strategic Plan is the certification and accreditation program that you are also leading. You have much work, Mateja. So please describe also to the audience these programs.
Yeah, so certification program has been, I want to say it's about 15 years old now. So it was launched before my time. So, but yes, I took over from the long-term coordinator, Josh Brown, who used to be a board member as well. So basically, the idea behind certification is really professionalizing the field. So, like I mentioned earlier, myself, and basically people who practice CPTED and the board also understand that CPTED is it hinges on having the experience. So you can only be an effective practitioner, I think, when you have experience to do so. And with certification, we're trying to recognize who has the competency, who has done enough work to have the experience where they can actually go and advise others as consultants or as researchers to how to basically practice CPTED. So we do put a lot of emphasis on our certification program called ICCP. And then the second stage of that program is CPTED course accreditation program, which Greg Seville, who coordinates that program, will tell you more about. But the idea is that basically we're trying to, or we are accrediting programs. So we have applicants who apply with their CPTED programs, and we identify whether they satisfy the competencies or the competencies they apply for, whether they satisfy them. And those are the same competencies, 8 for basic or 11 for advanced certification. So it's the same competencies that are for certification programs that CPTED courses are supposed to then teach. So we want to make sure that they contain the I guess the crucial elements for anyone who takes that course to learn those competencies. And then if they wish to apply for certification, they are basically exempt from some of those competencies. They don't need to explain them again, so they're recognized that they have completed the accredited program, but they still need to do some practical work where they actually demonstrate application of those competencies. So we're still looking for practical experience.
Yeah, both.
So that we can actually...
We hope to have research in CPTED and also practical experience. Would be great. Mateja, in that sense, why do you think, or why you should recommend to the audience to become an active ICA member?
Well, join the ICA families. So it's for members, we do have some special offers, so cheaper registrations for the webinars. Then those who wish to certify or credit their courses also need to become members. Then cheaper registration for some events, including conferences and so on. So there's some of those benefits, but also, I guess, being part of the CPTED community and being up to date with what's going on. And we're working on more products now. Obviously, we can't do everything overnight, but we're definitely, a lot of our board members are doing hard work, spending a lot of their free time, because we're all basically, all board members are volunteers, right? So they're not compensated for their time. But just feeling part of the CPTED community, I think it's a big reward for them, and they want to promote the field because they also consider it an exciting and promising field, and they apply it in their everyday job as well. So yeah, so basically to shorten, there's a lot of good benefits, but also being part of the community. So please join us.
Of course, this is the main message. But also, as closing remarks, I want to ask you for your final message.
Yeah, maybe one thing that I have thought a lot recently, especially when you read my CV, I feel like I've done so little actually. But then when you look at my CV or when it's written, I can say, yeah, I've done a few things, but I still feel like I have so much to learn. There's so much I still don't know. And I hope that every CPTED practitioner is humble enough to, to constantly educate themselves, to continually learn, and we really want to provide that platform to do that. And we're working hard to offer more of that. We're doing webinars now. We're gonna we have a newsletter. We're gonna provide more of that material for people to learn, and also then to be recognized as professionals in the field. So yeah, so I think we all, like in every other field of professional field, at least, we need to recognize that we need to constantly learn, because the field also evolves, and we want it to evolve in order to address current issues, like you said, contemporary issues. So yeah, keep learning. That's
yeah,
the message.
that's the attitude. I agree with you. Be humble and keep learning. It's a very good attitude towards the knowledge. So thank you so much, dear Mateja, our Executive Director of the International CPTED Association. And if you like this video, please press a like in our channel. And we hope to see you very soon. And have a very nice weekend, Mateja.
Thank you very much, Macrina. You as well. Bye.
Bye. Great.